Ah!
Ah,
Hi. I like your iridescent background.
thanks. It's a filter. I can also give myself a beret and a beard.
A beard. I want to give myself a beard.
You go to choose video filter
Where
and then
is
you go
that?
to okay, so you know how it says like mute and then stop video?
Yes.
There's an arrow right next to the stop video. You're gonna click that
Yes.
and you're gonna click choose video filter and then you're gonna go to studio effects.
Oh my God. Oh, I just put a little dog in there. Wow. Oh, I can do oh my God. These are fun.
Anything you want.
These are so cool. A little crown. Where's my, okay, I want to do a beard.
Here, you go to studio effects.
Studio effects. Okay. Oh gosh. Oh, okay. Get rid
You
of
do
the
your eyebrows too.
rid of the pirate hat. None. Okay. That's like my eyebrows 2 years ago. I love playing around with this. Ooh, very straight. That's not too far off from my actual eyebrows. Wow. Okay. I want like a full beard. All they have is this like goatee nonsense.
They have like the
There we go. Nice. Boy, I could do this for a long time. Just play around with this. Weird.
I'm gonna.
Okay, let's not do this anymore. Okay, everybody's here, so we're all good. Let me do attendance. Guys, I'm so proud. I am in the lead in our fantasy football league, and I don't know anything about football, so I feel really pleased about that. I beat Mr. Nykirk the first week. Feel pretty good.
Did you beat Wash?
Well, I have the most points in the league right now, so that's why I'm first. But we've only played one game so far, and I was against Nykirk, so I won our first game. I don't expect I will stay in first place, but I'm really pumped that I'm first for now. I texted my former roommate who's a sport management major and always tried to get me into sports. I was like, I'm first. She's like, I'm so proud. Okay, so we did Lamont yesterday. Okay, we're gonna look at comma splices and fused sentences and fragments. And these are of the grammatical things. These are things that I'm passionate about, particularly comma splices. I'll use them all the time in informal writing, like either creative writing or when I'm posting on Instagram or something. I don't hesitate to use those things. But in a formal academic writing, no. And we don't even know that we're doing it sometimes. It's crazy. I would recommend going on, what's that thing? IXL, and working on these skills, but let's read about them. Let me find our handbook. That's what we need, the Little Seagull handbook. And we're looking at S3 and S2. Okay. I'm gonna share my screen. And I might kind of breeze through some of these. I haven't looked at these passages yet, but I can't imagine these would have like big long paragraphs that we're using as examples because we're just looking at individual sentences. So sentence fragments often show up in advertising, like got milk or good to the last drop or not bad for something that tastes good too. Those are not actually, those have implied subjects. I'm upset, but anyway, we use them in informal speech and text messages. In other kinds of writing, though, some readers consider fragments too informal, especially academic writing situations. So it's better to avoid them altogether. So we're gonna learn to identify and edit out our fragments. So a sentence fragment is just a group of words that's capitalized and punctuated like it's a sentence, but it's not a sentence. A sentence needs at least one independent clause, which is subject, verb, and does not start with a subordinating word, which is why I think got milk is not a fragment. That's got a subject and a verb. The subject is implied. Anyway, this doesn't have a subject. This, if we're looking right there. The catcher batted fifth, fouled out, ending the inning. We should say he fouled out. If it doesn't have a verb, it might be like this. The first two batters walked, Manny Machado again. And that doesn't sound bad. Like, if this were a piece of creative writing, that would be fine. Or a subordinating word, if this doesn't have a subordinating word. Although the Yankees loaded the bases. I hate that kind because it just doesn't sound, that's the kind that doesn't sound right. Like, I don't think most people would think that that's a real sentence. Although the Yankees loaded the bases, what happened after they loaded the bases? So those are all subordinating words. If the fragment starts with those, but then it just ends, then that's a fragment. Since some readers regard fragments as errors, it's generally better to write complete sentences. Of course it is. So here's some ways we can make fragments into sentences. You can add a subject, like in that first instance, he fouled out, ending the inning. Excuse me. I'm gonna turn my video off because I'm coughing like crazy. It's making my eyes water and I look crazy. Excuse me. I'm totally fine. You could add a verb. The first two batters walked. Manny Machado walked again. You could add a helping verb, like right here. As the game went on, the fans started to lose interest. The pitcher's arm weakened and the fielders made a number of errors. So before it just said the pitcher's arm weakening and the fielders a number of errors. That doesn't make any sense. My God, I'm so sorry. You could remove the subordinating word, such as, I'm thinking about moving to a large city. I dislike the lack of privacy in my country town of 3,000 residents. This is actually one that I see a good bit. Like, it makes sense and you know what someone is trying to say, but it's just not a complete sentence. If you said, I'm thinking about moving to a large city because I dislike the lack of privacy in my country town of 3,000 residents. Like, you get what it's saying, but it's just not a correct sentence. Or you could attach the fragment to a nearby sentence. Like, you combine these. Some candidates spread nasty stories about their opponents. These negative stories can deal with many topics, such as using a semicolon to attach a fragment to a nearby sentence isn't a good solution because you're not really changing anything there. Sometimes writers use fragments intentionally. We've got an example here for emphasis. Throughout my elementary and middle school years, I was a strong student, always on the honor roll. I never had a GPA below 3.0. I was smart and I knew it. That is, until I got the results of the proficiency test. If we just had that sentence on its own, we wouldn't know what they were talking about because it's not a complete sentence. But since we've got all this extra stuff, I'm not saying it's not a fragment anymore, but this is a reason someone would use it for emphasis like that. or to be informal. I feel like that's probably the one I see the most often. Like the SAT writing predicts how successful a student will be in college since when, or to list several examples like this. And this is a really good example of like why a writer would do it intentionally, because this sounds totally fine and normal. The small details stand out. The bathrooms with the green stalls and mirrors with painted ducks, slugging conference foes, the extra large furniture tested to withstand 500 pounds, the elevators, the room, the ticker. They're common in informal contexts, but they're often considered errors in academic writing. So as far as we're writing, which this whole class is academic writing, we're going to steer clear of fragments if at all possible. And I feel like people have a better handle on fragments than they do on comma splices and fused sentences. Fused sentences are also known as run-on sentences. And a lot of times, people think that things are run-on sentences that aren't run-on sentences. If a sentence is long, people will be like, oh, this is a run-on sentence. It's not necessarily. Run-on sentences are specifically sentences that are pushed together without a semicolon or without a coordinating conjunction. It's basically just like putting two sentences together, like, I like Hunter, he is polite. That should be two sentences. Or it could be, I like Hunter because he is polite. You wouldn't just say, I like Hunter, he is polite. That's a run-on sentence. That's a fused sentence. A comma splice can be a little bit more complicated, and that's because we speak in them all the time. Like I said, I write using comma splices when I'm not doing formal academic writing, because it feels natural, but it is technically incorrect. So this is an example. You'll sometimes see a comma splice in ads or literary works. He dropped the bucket, the paint spilled on his feet. It should be he dropped the bucket and the paint spilled on his feet. That's actually from last period. Oh God, I feel so good about where we are right now, actually, because we're only just now supposed to be getting out of the last class, and here we are halfway done with what we have to do. It's wonderful. The comma might be omitted, forming a fused sentence. He dropped the bucket, the paint spilled on his feet. Those are errors, and this chapter is going to show us how to recognize comma splices and fused sentences and edit them right out of our writing. So a comma splice occurs when two or more independent clauses follow one another with only a comma between them. Like this example, T.S. Eliot is best known for his poetry. He also wrote several plays. If we were going to fix that, we could change it to just two sentences. T.S. Eliot is best known for his poetry, period. He also wrote several plays. Or we could add a conjunction between them. T.S. Eliot is best known for his poetry, but he also wrote several plays. A fused sentence occurs when two or more independent clauses follow one another with no punctuation. Like the example I gave about Hunter, but this one, the school board debated the issue for 3 days. They were unable to reach an agreement. Obviously, there should be a period or a semicolon between days and they, or you could also do a comma and a conjunction, like the school board debated the issue for 3 days, but they were unable to reach an agreement. So there's several ways to edit them out, and I'm going to kind of breeze through this because I feel like I've been saying this since we started this chapter, but you can make it into two sentences. You could use a comma and a coordinating conjunction. These are exactly the examples I just gave. Or you could use a semicolon. If the relationship between the two clauses is clear without a coordinating conjunction, you can just join them with a semicolon, like psychologists study individuals' behavior, semicolon. Sociologists focus on group level dynamics. If clauses are linked by a transitional phrase like therefore or as a result, then usually the transition should have a semicolon before it and then should have a comma after it. Like, their example here. The Hilltowns experienced heavy spring and summer rain, semicolon. Therefore, comma, the fall foliage fell far short of expectations. Boy, that alliteration there. The fall foliage fell far short of expectations. Or you can recast. That's an interesting word for it. Recast one clause as a subordinate clause. Just adding a subordinating word to clarify the relationship. So right here, it did say initial critical responses to the wasteland were mixed. The poem has been extensively anthologized, read, and written about. We're going to change that a little bit and add this subordinating word there, which was on our list a few pages ago. Although initial critical responses to the wasteland were mixed, the poem has been extensively anthologized, read, and written about. Intentional comma splices. Writers sometimes use only a comma between clauses that are very brief or closely parallel in structure, as in proverbs like marry in haste, repent at leisure. In academic writing, though, they may be seen as mistakes. My God, all these emails. And that's it. So what we're going to do, actually, you'll have these quizzes on Friday, your comma splice in few sentences and sentence fragments. So we're going to, like we did before, we're just going to take a quick look at both of those and just see. Let's do this one. Select the answer that contains neither a comma splice nor a fused sentence. So we've got Georgia O'Keeffe painted scenes reflecting the landscape in the southwestern part of the United States, comma, she made her home in New Mexico. Renowned for his abstract works, comma, Isamu Noguchi produced materials for architectural spaces. One of his most famous works is the sculpture garden of the UNESCO building in Paris. Or the paintings of Barnett Newman range from abstract expressionism to the color field movement period. He developed a unique geometric style that became his trademark. Which of those three does not have a comma splice or a fused sentence? You've got a 33.3% chance of getting it right.
Yeah, I'm reading all of them real quick.
Okay.
The second one.
Hunter says the second one. You guys agreed?
The third.
Jay says the third. Anyone else? Okay, Jay is right on this one. It's got two separate sentences. Neither sentence has a comma splice or a fused sentence. If you look at the second one, renowned for his abstract works, Isamu Noguchi produced materials for architectural spaces. There should be a period here. One of his most famous works is the sculpture garden of the UNESCO building in Paris. And then this first one has a comma splice. It could be a semicolon or it could be a new sentence. Georgia O'Keeffe painted scenes reflecting the landscape in the southwestern part of the United States, period. She made her home in New Mexico. Let's do one more of these. And it's the same thing. So I don't know what the whole deal is with art in this one. A major proponent of abstract expressionism and action painting, Willem de Kooning arrived in the United States as a stowaway and first supported himself here as a house painter. Toward the end of his life, he worked on sculptures. That's the first option. One of the best known paintings by Thomas Eakins, The Gross Clinic, captures a surgical operation, a subject considered inappropriate at the time. Eakins lost an academic position because he used nude models in mixed classes. And lastly, Jenny Holzer produces multimedia works. Electronic message boards are one of the media she uses. Which one of those is good? Does not have a comma splice or a fused sentence?
The second one.
Jay is correct again. It is the second one. And I almost feel like if they're all like this, the sort of giveaway is going to be which one is 2 sentences. Because the first one is only 1 sentence. The third one is only 1 sentence. But that second one is 2 sentences. It might not always be that way. Like they might do a semicolon instead. But if it's got 2 sentences, it's a lot more likely to be the right one. Okay. So that's what the comma splices and fused sentence one looks like. And then we have the fragments, identifying fragments. I think the other one was 10 questions too. Just picking one. Does this contain a sentence fragment? Some people love those chilly winter sports, but not I. Does that have a fragment? I sort of feel like that one's a tough one.
I'm gonna say yes.
I'll say yes too.
You're
I
correct.
also say yes.
It does. It's kind of one of those where I'm like, oh, it does have a subject, but it doesn't really have a verb. Okay, let's do one more of these. Because my niece is planning to attend college at Ohio State. Does that contain a fragment or no?
Yes.
Yes, it does. The whole thing is a fragment. Yeah, this is one of those where it's like, it sounds like it's missing something. Because my niece is planning to attend college at Ohio State, something should happen. Because my niece is planning to attend college at Ohio State, she bought an Ohio State sweatshirt. Something should be after that. Okay, so you'll have these 2 quizzes on Friday. I don't think they should be too hard. I will go ahead and tell you guys, though, I haven't told anybody else this, but most of my classes are going to be asynchronous on Friday, meaning we're not going to meet on Zoom. We will meet on Zoom for the senior class because I always have to start that Zoom. But I probably will not Zoom with anybody else that day. So the downside of that is that I won't be around to tell you which ones you got wrong. So I'm kind of determining whether I want to extend it until Monday so that you can do your first attempt, and then Monday I can tell you which ones you got wrong. Maybe I should do that. Not all of you even asked me which ones you got wrong, but it's nice to have that option.
I think that sounds good.
Okay. I'll do that then. So Friday, I mean, we'll talk about this again on Thursday, but on Friday, you'll do your first attempt on these 2 quizzes. And then unless you feel super good about it, like if you want to know which ones you got wrong, then you can have a second attempt on Monday. I'll change that due date. Okay, if that's all for you guys, that's all for me. Anyone got anything for the good of the group?
No.
That's another one of my catchphrases, Marilyn. I know that I say that a lot.
Well, let's
Okay.
see you tonight.
I will see you tonight, Hunter. I'm excited about it. Okay, see ya.